Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm going to give us just a moment as we allow people to start joining the presentation. We are going to be kicking it off with our first traffic webinar related to app store optimization, apps in general. This is our very first, and we are also introducing a new partner, Gummicube, on the panel today with us, and Freestar. All right, so this may or may not be your first session for Freestar with us here for these monthly webinars. If it is, welcome everyone back. And we run these through these sessions, one each month, covering various topics, and ask questions in the chat. They're meant to be conversational. If there is that, they're not meant to be long. We'll get through this in about 30 minutes or so, but we certainly want to spend time talking about app store optimization today. So excited. These are the hosts on the phone here with us today. We have Eric, our own Associate Vice President of Revenue Operations for app at Freestar. He's going to be talking a bit about the services and products here. We have Ryan Mayola, the ASO optimization expert for Gummicube, David Quinn, VP of Strategy and Partnerships for Gummicube, and myself, Audience Development here at Freestar. I'm particularly excited about this one as I have led most of these, but to have a true expert here today and me be able to just kind of chat with them and the team and let them show their true expertise is going to be exciting. Gummicube, we in our own efforts this year to focus on audience development services and traffic and ways to really elevate your brand. My focus has primarily been website driven and on the traffic to that. And we realized the need for an expert in the app side. So this is Gummicube. I will let them do their own justice here by introducing themselves, but a trusted resource, agency and service for app store optimization.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Lindsay, Eric, everyone at Freestar for allowing us to hop on with you guys. We're excited about the partnership and going through this together. Happy to provide a little bit more context. So my name's Ryan Mayola. So I'm part of the business development and app store optimization team over at Gummicube. So we've actually been around for over 12 years now. So we're the oldest ASO company in North America and one of the oldest in the world. So one of the biggest differentiation factors when it comes to Gummicube is that we actually started as a technology company first. So we developed our own proprietary technology for ASO, which is DataCube and SplitCube are the two platforms. So SplitCube is more of a A/B testing platform where DataCube is able to provide insights in real-time information to the partners that we're working with in terms of search volume, being able to read over 20 billion data points from the stores every day. So whereas a lot of other companies that are out there are using third-party tools, which is using paid search data or web data, where there's only a 20% overlap between web and mobile search trends. So a lot of the information that's out there isn't really intended to be used for ASO. And that's one of the big differences when you look at Gummicube is we're pulling data directly from the stores themselves to really be able to provide insights and information to help our partners look for new opportunities to be able to grow within the stores. So we've been able to help a lot of enterprise clients, some of the more recognizable brands that we work with, Microsoft, LinkedIn, McAfee, but we also work with a wide variety of startups, which make up roughly half of our client base. So we have different teams that work with our enterprise versus our startup partners. And that's not because we offer different levels of service or anything like that. We just know the needs of startups are very much different from enterprise, where it might take us a couple months with an enterprise partner to get sign-offs on approvals for things like new screenshot sets. with branding guidelines and things like that. Startups move at a much more rapid pace. So we're used to the timeline and schedules of working with both. And then we offer a full range of services. So we can really do all of the heavy lifting in terms of building out variant sets for A/B testing. We have our own creative services team in-house to be able to build out all the static store assets, as well as our own paid search teams to help out with things like Google ads, Apple search ads, being able to manage campaigns for social channels like Facebook. So really all aspects of App Store optimization we're able to help with in-house.
That is amazing. And presumably for this call, either those on the line either have an app, are interested in building one along those lines, and to see an agency here, say you're just starting, not even know where to begin. This list of services offered is such a fantastic list of resources. All right, and Eric, you want to go through this one, talk a little bit about Freestar?
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay, and thanks, Ryan, for that overview. Excited to get on this webinar with you guys to focus on user growth. Of course, that's what Gummicube focuses on. And once we get those users into your app, Freestar really focus on monetizing those users and trying to get the most revenue out of those users as we can. So we do have, many of you are probably familiar with the Freestar SDK, as some of you are clients of ours, but we have the Freestar mediation platform that brings together all the most competitive demand sources into your ad stack. We have different adapters to common network partners, as well as server-side bidders competing within the ad stack. We leverage technology that is a combination between real-time bidding and universal auction. So where there are some ad networks that don't compete in real time yet, we use historical data to create a bid on their behalf and really get to the most efficient monetization auction as we possibly can. And at Freestar, one of the differentiators for us is we are an ad management company. So we handle everything from ad operations, development, support and work, QA of your apps to ensure the best experience for your users as you get them into your app. We have a dedicated account team that's very hands-on, and they provide a truly white glove service and making monetization as easy as we possibly can for you guys. So the main goal for developers is to allow them time to focus on building app experiences, and we can help do the heavy lifting around monetization, ensuring great user experiences and squeezing the most out of those users as we can. We know that you're paying for these users through App Store optimization and some of those practices. So ROI is an important aspect of that. So that's where we found, a partnership with Gummicube and linking those very closely together to be hugely important. So excited to learn more from Gummicube today.
Thank you so much, Eric. I as well. It was one of the first conversations that Eric and I had was, what do you know about this? And I said very little. Let's find a partner. And Eric said, I know these guys over here. Let's get them on the phone and kind of establish a working relationship here. So we're as far as first topics go, a lot of it is, I come from an SEO background, and I kind of have always looked at, or at least I thought presumably before this call, they were along the same lines of tactics you would do in order to increase your presence in this case, the app stores, and how to optimize against that. So I will talk no further, turn it over, and we can start with just the ASO basics right here.
Sure. So when you look at ASO at its core, it's really about increasing your visibility overall within the stores, being able to zero in on your target audience, which will then be able to lower your user acquisition cost and increase your ability to be able to scale over time. So one of the ways that you're able to do this organically is through the process of iteration. And that's why when you're looking at ASO, it really can't be like a one and done process. It's something that takes time. Not a lot of people know this, but if you're not continuously updating your metadata about every 30 to 45 days, your app can actually be prioritized less within the stores. So you need to make sure that you're continuously updating your metadata roughly every 4 to 6 weeks in order to lock the store's algorithms into their learning periods. And this creates what I call the snowball effect, where organically you can go from ranking from tens to hundreds to thousands of keywords over time, and really being able to increase your footprint organically within the stores. And then this will help you in the long term as well when you're thinking about rolling out like Apple search ads or Google ads, because when you're seen as being relevant for the terms and keywords that you're trying to target as part of those campaigns, if you're seen as relevant within the store's algorithms, that can really drive down your costs to be able to run those campaigns and target in on those specific keywords that are important to your value propositions and being able to zero in on your target audience. Where if you don't have that organic relevancy in place previously, it's going to be much more expensive for you over time. So that's something that we work on with all of our partners through the process of iteration, is locking the stores into the learning periods to be able to grow the visibility organically within the stores. So when you look at App Store optimization, there are really many factors which play a role. So you have metadata and keyword optimization, which are really the foundation to improving your search rankings, helping to increase your organic impressions, and driving more organic downloads. Then you have conversion optimization, which involves improving your store listing creative assets such as screenshots, icons, and feature graphics. This will help to increase your conversion rate, which will then lower your user acquisition costs. And we have our own creative services team in-house to be able to help out partners build out all of those static store assets. And then we can also build out videos as well, if that would be something that you're interested in. We also have a paid search and user acquisition management team. So this will help to drive in additional traffic and allow your app to index more quickly within the stores. So particularly if you're using like Google ads or Apple search ads, it'll increase the amount of click data through the store's algorithms versus like an external channel such as Facebook. So that's something that we work with a lot of our partners as well, in conjunction with the ASO work that we're doing for them. You have reviews and ratings management, which can affect conversion and rankings, as well as alert you to things like bugs and issues within the app. So that's something to really pay attention to. If you drop below a 4-star rating, it can really affect your conversion overall. And then we also help out with different strategies where if you receive a negative review, you really want to make sure that you respond to that within 24 hours to greatly increase your chances of being able to flip it into a positive review. Otherwise, the user is more likely to delete the app, and then you're going to have that negative review on your record forever. And then in-app experience, which can affect reviews, ratings, and things like user retention. You want to make sure there's no sort of paywalls or issues where users are dropping out within the app. So this is all different areas of App Store optimization that we focus on with our partners as more of a holistic approach.
The potential obstacle created by negative ratings and reviews is just so much stronger in this side versus websites. And there has, of course, been products, or you can still do the like rating to that, but it's so much just more relevant with users. They look at those reviews and ratings so heavily when it comes to apps.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are different factors when you're looking at App Store optimization. So it's really important not only to focus on the keywords that are really important to you, but also the long tail of keywords. So say you're a news app, news is going to be really important for you, but you also have to look at all the relevant terms and phrases that are associated with news that people search for within the stores, because that's where 50 to 60% of the click data that's coming through is associated with. So not only do you have to focus on news, you could focus on things like daily news or US news or financial news. all of the longer term keywords or long tail keywords that are associated with the category that competitors are ranking for as well. Because if they're seen as more relevant versus you, that can really affect your metrics down the line. So not only is it important to first be able to rank for those keywords, grow your visibility within the app stores, it's important to then boost your ranking so you're within the top 10. So when people are scrolling through certain searches, they're able to find your app in there. It's not going to do you much good if you're ranking for something, but you're outside of the top 50, because no one's going to scroll down to that level as they're going through the stores. And then once you're starting to rank for more, it's really important to focus on conversion. So that it's taking into account your customer facing metadata and creative components to be able to improve your conversion, really highlight value propositions that are important for your target audience to be able to improve conversion over time. And then, as you were pointing out, reviews and ratings play such a big role, where if you're dropping below 4 stars, that can really affect your conversion, because most users aren't going to download your app in that case. And then paid search to help drive in additional traffic, allow your app to index more quickly within the stores. And particularly in really competitive categories, if you want to be able to crack into the top 3, top 5, top 10, it's important to use paid search as part of your ASO strategy to be able to drive in additional click data.
One quick question on keywords, and is there a max or a not even a number, but can you over optimize on the keyword level in the same way you can search?
I would say no, because the more that you rank for, the better. You're able to drive in more click data. So we've been working with some apps in cases for years where we were able to take the amount of keywords and their visibility going from tens to hundreds, where now they're ranking for thousands of keywords and phrases that are related to their target audience. In a lot of cases, we're able to help them build organically without even adding in maybe some of the paid search campaigns to be able to do that. Some of the startups that we work with, where they're only, when we start with them, ranking for 50 or 60 keywords in some cases, and then being able to build it into the thousands over time. So when you look at App Store optimization, it's really critical for businesses both large and small within the mobile space. So 70% of all installs happen within search for Apple and Google. And on average, you only have about 6 seconds to engage the user as they're scrolling through search. So you have to think of it almost like an Instagram type of experience. And that's why it's so important for your customer facing metadata and creative components to really stand out versus your competition, or to really affect your conversion overall. And you can do this through the process of A/B testing, seeing which ones are resulting in better metrics for you overall to be able to really optimize as you move forward. It's such a competitive marketplace. It's really important to continually drive growth, or you risk reducing the footprint of your app within the stores over time. And then another important thing to note when you're looking at App Store optimization is that you really can't treat it as SEO for apps. That's something that we hear a lot. But when you look at the store's algorithms and how they work, it's actually more similar to e-commerce, the way that people search for products, features, and services versus more of the information-based searches on the web. So the store's algorithms will test your product across different keywords and placements within the store to see where you convert best. And then based on where you convert well, your footprint can actually expand to other related audiences, kind of similar to when you're shopping on Amazon.com and you type in a search for something that you want to shop for, and it'll pop up with suggestions for other things that you want to buy. And in a creepy way, they're usually pretty accurate with that type of stuff. And that's why when you're looking at ASO, there's a lot of keyword planners that are out there where you're plugging in specific keywords that you want to target. But with our technology through DataCube, we're automatically able to detect all the keywords and phrases that you're ranking for within the stores. So this will allow you to look for new opportunities in being able to grow your visibility over time, where a lot of the other third-party tools and technology that is out there doesn't account for all the keywords that you might be ranking for. So you could be losing out on an opportunity to target some of these keywords that are related to your target audience and value propositions that you should be bringing up in your metadata to help increase conversion and your visibility over time. So that's one of the main differentiation points, is that we're able to detect that through machine learning and over 12 years of pulling these data points and seeing what the signals mean within the stores.
That's amazing. And I bet there is sort of a tipping point on to your previous slide, the long tail search, because when coming, and I cannot stress that enough, if you have thought in the past of SEO and ASO being the same, I myself have learned so much differences. So tons of differences there. But when I think of SEO long tail and how I talk to publishers about the opportunity in those, I'm talking like 4 or 5, like people search with long titles, and with App Store long tail, maybe 3. Like you're right, like the differences versus one, you know, it's different how they search, much more product. You're right, specific terms, I would think.
Definitely.
All right, cool. Moving along, this is iOS App Store specific, correct? Optimization tips for appearing for those keywords in which we talked about in the store itself.
Yeah, so I guess to start off, it's really important to know that you really need to optimize individually for each store. There are some potential partners that approach us and think that they can optimize for iOS and use that for Google Play. And the way that the stores operate are so different. It's really important that you use individual approaches to each one. At the end of the day, Apple and Google are 2 companies that really hate each other and they try and differentiate the stores. And it seems like every year they get a little bit more different. So it's really important to come up with individual and unique strategies for each one, just because they operate so differently. And so we'll get into some of the differences between the 2 stores as I'm going through. So when you look at iOS and the metadata components, 2 of the most important are the title and subtitle. So they're 30 characters each. So for iOS, it'll actually build out the targeted keyword phrases for you based on the keywords that you're using to build the title and subtitle. Where when you're looking at Google, it'll actually crawl it and read from left to right. So it takes a little bit longer when you're using Google and going through the Google Play Store for it to index, because it takes a longer time for the store's algorithms to go through and read your metadata components, where with iOS, it's a much quicker process. So the title and subtitle are visible components. So it's a one-click experience when you're going through iOS to be able to download, where Google Play is more traditional add to cart. So that's one of the differences between the stores as well. So when you're looking at the title and subtitle, they're visible components of the metadata within search, and therefore they have a greater impact on click-through rate for conversion metrics. And 80% of users download directly from search when they're using iOS. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind as well.
Is there okay, just want to focus at 30 characters in my head. I was thinking, how fast is that going to truncate or cut off on that screenshot for the Candy Crush? 30 characters, that is a tight space. But look how concise that example is that you gave. It was really all they needed it.
Another important thing to note when you're looking at the title and subtitle and you have those 30 characters for each one is that you don't want to duplicate any keywords that you're using within the title and subtitle. Some people think, oh, if I use this keyword twice in the title and subtitle, it'll emphasize it more and it'll help me rank better for that particular keyword, which is not the case. You're really just wasting character count at that point. So it's really important to make sure that you're not duplicating any of the keywords in the title, subtitle, or the keyword bank. They all work in conjunction with each other to be able to build more phrases for you. And because it is such a limited character space that you have, it's really important that you don't waste any of it.
Okay, one question here, and it's a great one. Coming to Freestar and getting to know these publishers, I'm just going to throw out like a topic, not an actual publisher, but Solitaire. It's an app. You can have a desktop experience, but it's a game, right? It's these game bases, and some of them, the company name is kind of includes Solitaire in that sense. And in the SEO world, that was I don't know what year, but became sort of this exact match that they would penalize against. So just throwing it out, would be interested to know, for those who kind of included Solitaire in the name of their game / company, if that benefits having that in the title versus having a Candy Crush Saga, like that doesn't indicate in the name what it is. So that's interesting on where not to duplicate the real estate for there.
Yeah, it's important that you wouldn't say Solitaire again within your title or subtitle or keyword bank at that point, because then you're just going to be wasting character count. Yeah, so it's important that you're able to really explain to the user what your app is, and maybe throw in some of the value propositions that are going to really resonate with your target audience as part of your title and subtitle. So when they're scrolling through the store and they're only spending 6 seconds looking at your app listing, it's going to resonate with them and make them want to download. And when you look at like your icon, that's another important factor, where you don't want to fall into the Facebook disease, where you just have something that doesn't really speak to your app's functionality, or realize to the user exactly what the app is meant for. If it's a particular game, if it's a services app, you really want to have something within your icon, title, and subtitles be able to point out that fact to the user.
So less logo-y in a way.
Particularly for startups, where if you just have like a letter or a number and a color, but it doesn't really explain anything about the app to the user, that can really affect conversion. Where if you're able to tweak the icon to show a little bit more about what the app is intended to do, that can really help improve conversion as you move forward. So I talked a little bit about this, but the keyword bank is a non-customer facing metadata component, which is different than Google Play, because in Google Play, there is no keyword bank. So every single part of your metadata is visible to the user. So this is a 100-character keyword bank that works in conjunction with your title and subtitle, where you can target additional keywords to build more phrases. And then there's opportunities like United States and Mexico, where you could utilize the metadata components for Mexico as a bleed through territory to help improve visibility within the United States. And this will also allow you to target like competitor terms. Say you're in like the dating category and you really wanted to target like Bumble or Tinder or something like that. You can include those within your keyword bank, where when you're looking at the Google Play Store and how the metadata works, you really can't target competitors directly because all of it is customer facing. So that's one of the main differences when you're looking at iOS versus Google Play as well. And it's really important to not only target keywords that are related to your target audience, but also ones that have higher volume in terms of searches, so that it's able to help increase your visibility and footprint within the stores more rapidly than if you're targeting lower volume level keywords and phrases.
Yeah.
So I talked about this a little bit already, but when you're looking at the description for iOS, that's also very different when you're looking at Google Play. So for iOS, though, it doesn't really have a impact on your visibility, where when you're looking at Google Play, it almost acts as your keyword bank, whereas iOS, it's more non-customer facing. But it does have an impact on Apple search ads impressions, which is something to keep in mind if you're going to be rolling out paid campaigns later on. So organic keyword ranking is not determined by the description. That's more with the title, subtitle, and keyword bank, but it can affect conversion. A lot of mobile users are pretty lazy at the end of the day, so they're not going to go through and read your full description. So that's why it's really important, if you want to focus on any core features, value propositions, functionality within the game, to really include those components within the top paragraph or two within the description. Because if users are going to look at it in iOS, it's most likely just going to be that first part of it. And then as you get past the first two paragraphs, it's better if you structure it almost in bullet points and then really short paragraphs to make it more reader friendly and making the user more likely to scroll through and see the specific value props and core features that you want to translate to the user as they're reading the description. And then there's also promo text, which is 170 characters that can be added, which would appear above the description as people are looking on their mobile device.
I love this. I've talked a ton about readability, which is very similar to all of this, probably the same thing for sites, and how to structure things and format posts in tiny paragraphs and larger fonts. And because you're right, you have to like quickly grab their attention and then make it somewhat of an easy experience for them to stay there.
Yeah, the last thing that you want to do is have big chunk paragraphs in your description, because then most people are just going to glaze over it and they're not going to see what you're trying to get across to help out.
Yeah.
And
All
now
right.
I'll pass it off to David Quinn.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I'll jump in on the Google Play Store. So like Ryan mentioned, the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store are not optimized in the same way. They're similar fields and they impact similar things, like the text content impacts the keywords that you rank for and are served for in search results, and the things that users see, like your screenshots, your icon, those impact your conversion rates. But the biggest difference here is the keyword bank is not something that you have on the Google Play Store. Like Ryan mentioned, the description is primarily where Google crawls the content of your app. The title, short description, and full description. Starting with the title, this is also 30 characters, but functions in a very different way. There's no keyword bank to supplement build phrases, things like that. So the keywords and the phrases that follow used in this field are the first thing that Google crawls when it's looking for how to index your app. The most weight is placed here for keyword indexation. It's also important for conversion rates because people can see it, right? So primarily in Google Play, where on the iOS App Store in search results, if you're searching for a 2 or 3 word feature-based phrase, for example, you'll see a list of icons, titles, dev names, star rating, no screenshots show up. And this is going to be how you capture a user's attention. And then does your app resonate with what a user searched for? A lot of that's driven by the title. The icon's huge too, particularly on the Play Store, but definitely for both platforms. But you do want to keep in mind that Google crawls this. And so before you're thinking about converting, you need to show up. So you have to put some keywords in here that are relevant for your app so that you can index. And then, And then for the short description, so in the Google Play Store, unlike the iOS App Store, which has this big get button and 80% of people download directly from search results in the iOS App Store, on the Google Play Store, people click the result they find, and then they go to your Google Play Store store listing page. So the short description is going to be outside of the title, the first line of text that a user sees. In this example for Candy Crush, it shows under about this game. It's an 80 character field. This is the second most heavily weighted for search indexation. So you want to get keywords in here, but you also want to make sure that this describes your game. It gets users interested, lets them know what to expect. So targeting keywords is really critical here to appear in search results, but this is one of the elements that you can run A/B tests on to see if it converts better than another version, and can get into that in a little bit. But this is another element, like the title, that is very important for being discovered in search results, but also very important for conversion.
And the description is so important. I think people don't realize, because it is simple. It should be simple. It seems simple, but it really can make a difference. And A/B testing is such a great idea in the click through, because when they read it, if you can grasp that attention, it makes a difference in the data.
Yeah, and we've run A/B tests, constantly running A/B tests, and we see results where changing the short description based on the keywords that an app ranks for to resonate with those keywords leads to higher conversion. It all kind of makes sense, but running those tests and having that data where we can look at DataCube, we can see what the app ranks for, we can see what competitors rank for, we can see what's relevant for the app we're optimizing, focus on that in the metadata, the app starts ranking higher for it. We focus on it in the short description, for example, because it starts ranking in the top 10 and can be reasonably discovered there, leading to higher conversion rate. They're all kind of connected and make sense, but having the tools to plug that together is extremely important. And then measuring what you're doing and iterating based on that so that you can slowly grow, instead of saying, I'll just change my short description to something cool. And how does it do? It's probably good. Analyzing the data, having the resources and the platform like we have to measure that is extremely important for growth. And then for the full description, so this is like Apple, a 4,000 character text area, but taking the Apple description and putting it into Google is not going to necessarily or usually mean success with ASO. The Google Play full description, like Ryan mentioned, needs to be structured in a way where Google can crawl this and find the keywords to index you for and try you out for them. There's no keyword bank in the Google Play Store like the iOS App Store. So along with the title, short description, this full description is where you want to target the keywords that you're going after. And it's not like SEO in that sense where there's limited how many keywords should I be going after in this. It's more about what's relevant for my app, what could the Play Store index me for, and is the user who is searching for that going to search for my app and find it? Again, with DataCube, on our platform, we can see what apps rank for a given keyword to help determine relevancy. It calculates the category relevancy of a search result that you have. So you can make sure that if you're looking for a keyword like educational games because you want to get some high IQ people a little more educated about a subject, but you search it and see that it's all toddlers learning to count to 5 and stuff like that. So making sure that the keyword that you're going after is relevant despite its volume, that's the most important thing. And then from there, building as opposed to like one single focused keyword, because you're limiting your footprint if you're doing that. But the 4,000 character long description in the Google Play Store, the full description, since there's no declared keyword bank, the structure is super important. The top of it, again, like Ryan mentioned, usually what people read, give a brief overview of your app. It's also important for conversion rates. The user has to tap the short description to read this. So the short description, and then further down the conversion funnel, they'll read this, making sure the top is captivating, still targets keywords. And then as you go through it, putting concise lists, bulleted lists, contextual lists, so that it's easy to read for a user, but also easy for Google's algorithm to crawl it and absorb the keywords too that you're looking to rank for. And then for some conversion drivers, I already spoiled a lot of this. Screenshots are really big on the iOS App Store. This is a mock-up of an example search result in the iOS App Store. So you have the icon. In this example, there's a promo video or an app preview video. So if you have a video, it shows up in that first spot, and then your first screenshot gets bumped over to the second spot, and then so on and so on with the other screenshots. But in portrait mode, you get these 3 creative areas. 3 screenshots if no video, a video, and 2 screenshots if you have one. So if a user searches for a given keyword, this is your opportunity to show them that you are relevant for what they just searched for. So that's coming from your icon, your app preview video, if you have one, and your screenshots. So all of these should highlight your most important features, key selling points you have, what makes you different than other apps out there. And that involves market research on what your competitors are doing, knowing what they're testing, seeing how they've changed historically. These are really not just cool looking graphics. I mean, they should be, and they are if you execute them correctly, but they're mainly communication tools. You want to have someone look through this, and as they're scrolling through this very quickly, you want to get their attention, tell them what you're all about, and get them enticed enough to tap the get button. So if you're not communicating quickly enough, even if your app is great, they're not going to know it. They're going to just swipe through it because they don't understand what's going on. And that can be solved by doing things like having concise text that explain what your app is all about. Apple doesn't use OCR to index the keywords used in the text. It's nothing crazy like that. It's mainly if a user searches for a keyword, finds your app, understands how it's relevant for what they just searched, then they tap on it. That sends a signal to the App Store that that app is relevant for that keyword. And over time, as you essentially collect enough votes from people saying you're relevant for that keyword, you'll move up in ranking, and the other apps that aren't getting that click data are going to move down.
This is so interesting. Apologies if you already said this, but even regardless, are there for the icon, is there a field on the back end to like tell what that is, similar to like an alt text, did you say, or is there no way to like connect keywords to the images?
Yeah, there's not really like an alt text or anything like
Oh,
SEO would
sure.
have. It's more, yeah, it's more about the click data that you get. So if a user
Yeah,
searches
wow,
a keyword,
that is so interesting.
yeah, or the long tail forms too. So the more, excuse me, if you have a core keyword similar to the whole e-commerce sort of algorithm concept, if you have the more long tail keywords supporting a main keyword, all that click data matters for it. Also for, we'll get into this in a bit to the paid search. So there's paid traffic that you can drive to your app, and a user goes from an external channel to your app, you get some downloads, and that can help get you more downloads, which is great. But it can also help you in your category ranking because that's determined by your download volume and velocity. It can help you a bit with keywords too, but mainly for the paid ads that show up in search results on Apple search ads or in Google ads, the click data from those also count like organics too. So that's another way where your creatives like your icon and your screenshots don't have alt text, but if they have text in them where you can get it within half a second, and you get that click, then that can help. Yeah, and then for Google Play, so the icon, I already talked about the icon in search results. This is an example of Google Play Store listing view. Icon's extremely important. It's at the top and describes your app. You get a brief overview of it. So again, similarly, seeing what your competitors are doing with their creatives, icon, screenshots, whatever it might be, seeing what you can do in running A/B testing. Google has had A/B testing through its Google Play experiments for 6 years now. Apple finally caught up to the game back in December when they launched iOS product page optimization, and you can use that to A/B test your icon and your screenshots. So running these A/B tests is important for whatever Apple and Google have in their native platforms, but we also use SplitCube so that we can test things that Apple and Google don't let you test. Like basically any element in this mockup can be tested through SplitCube. Google lets you test your screenshots, short descriptions, icons, which is great. But we want to get as much data as we can to see where we can optimize. So all of this that's showing up on the page drives a user to convert. The main things are the icon, the screenshots, and if you have a Google Play promo video, which is a YouTube URL that you link in your console and then the video shows up, you'll also need to have a feature graphic, which is a landscape image that acts as the paused state of the video before it plays. And for this mockup here, if there was a promo video, it would bump out everything. If you imagine a fixed height landscape image bumping everything out so that you can see maybe the first screenshot, half of that. So the feature graphic is essentially the first screenshot in those instances. If you don't have a video, it doesn't show up. So not something to test. But all of these elements are worth testing, having a video, not having a video, what you say with your screenshots. And just because you run an A/B test on the iOS App Store and it works well, or vice versa, if you run an A/B test on the Google Play Store and it works well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will see the same results in the other store. Because between these two slides, the presentation is very different. I already mentioned that screenshots don't show up in Google Play search results. So the way that people view your store listing is not going to be the same. So the conversion numbers across the platforms won't be the same. That being said, if you test an icon and it does 50% better, you probably test it on Apple, it's gonna be okay. But always worth A/B testing and doing validation.
It's so interesting how different they are. I have always talked with publishers about, like, there's never been a time I've helped a publisher optimize for Bing search results or Yahoo search results. It's always been under, like, if you do well in Google, you can assume you're going to do okay in the others. And the fact that these two brands between stores have taken different approaches really shows the competitive nature of it, and also an opportunity to optimize in two completely separate places. All right. Paid search.
Yeah, and then for paid search, I already mentioned this a little bit. So the impact of these platforms, so the Google ads allows you to appear in search results. So you can be in YouTube, you can be in other apps, things like that. But there's some placements for Google ads where you can appear at the top of search results. There's a little bug next to it that says ad. Same with the iOS App Store. You can appear in search results like these example mockups from Apple. You're at the top, there's a light blue banner, it's a search ad. The clicks that you get from search results, even for those ads, also feed into the algorithm's understanding of your relevancy for that keyword organically. So the more click data you can get, the better. So you can't just put a crazy bid on Apple search ads and Google ads and be number one. It doesn't really work that way. The way it works is if you bid competitively enough and you get that opportunity to be placed in a search ad and you get those clicks, that's what helps you increase. That also has to combine with the clicks that you're getting organically too. So you can't pay your way to be number one. The system has a way of resolving that, where the apps that are deemed most relevant by users through that click data float to the top. And this is essentially another avenue to open up that opportunity.
That is so interesting.
And then there's other importance of paid search, even outside of just Apple search ads, Google ads. You can be running Facebook, TikTok, anything else like ad networks. You can index faster for the keywords that you're targeting. Running this paid traffic can get you downloads, and it's beneficial, yes. But if you don't lay the foundation for Apple or Google to understand what you should be indexed for, as you're driving in paid traffic, you'll get indexed at a higher rate. But if you don't have the correct keywords, meaning they're relevant, they are optimized to remove duplicates, like Ryan mentioned, they build phrases with one another, you're not going to get that benefit from running that paid campaign organically like you would have if you did ASO, laid that groundwork, and then started running some paid campaigns. So the paid campaigns have an impact on your organics more directly with the ones that appear in search results. But sort of the first step that we like to do is make sure that we're in a good spot organically, and then driving more traffic, seeing what the results are, improved ranking potential from that. And then the learnings from one you can apply to another. So if you're seeing from an external paid campaign, you're getting tons of traffic and a concept is converting well. If you see a banner that you're running converting very well and leading to a lot of clicks to your page, testing those concepts in your creatives on the App Store and the Play Store is then a good logical next step. Essentially, for the paid campaigns, the final landing page is going to be your product page on the App Store and the Play Store. So you want to make sure that the external paid campaigns you're running are flowing cohesively down the funnel to that final landing page. And more recently, Apple has come out with custom product pages, so you can drive users to the link where the screenshot sets that you make are totally custom. And that can be for paid campaigns that you're running externally or even on Apple search ads. So there's some opportunities there, but everybody's got to go to the store. So they're going to see the screenshots and sort of learning what works on paid campaigns and learning what works on organic, and taking the concepts from one another to one another builds growth in a better way overall. Also, a very important thing, Ryan, again, you also mentioned this. If you're running a creative test and you see that your conversion rates improve, that's great. Overall, you're getting more downloads. But also the Apple search ads, for example, it's a cost per tap campaign. So a user taps on your app and then you have to pay Apple for that. If they're converting at a higher rate for those taps, then you're spending less money on your paid campaign. So it's not just getting more downloads. Running these A/B tests lets you spend less money or put that money you're not spending back into the campaign so that you can get more downloads with more efficient spend.
It seems that just even at that high level, how much the store, like the more quote organic store optimization and paid campaigns, work together so much clearer here than in traditional search. At least the perception has been that they're they're split and they're separate and they kind of don't. Who knows if that's actually true? That's debatable. But in this case, I love how open it is that they are supposed to work together, but to lay that strong foundation from an organic perspective first is very important.
Yeah, and we have that slide with the web earlier in the deck, and that's because a lot of people, like you mentioned, think that ASO is keywords, and it's really not. All of this stuff works together. It's all connected. If you're not doing part of it, the other part won't be as successful, and that's why we have a growth team in-house that does the UA. We have a creative team that does the designs. We have our accounts and services and strategy teams that do the optimizations. We have a data team looking at the analytics. So without all of that holistic coverage, you could just do keywords, but then you're missing a bunch of other stuff. And you could just run paid UA, but you're missing a bunch of other stuff. So our approach to ASO is more holistic, data driven, and looks at every aspect of it.
And it's so competitive. So services and this testing and technology that you've described here today is vital. And so again, Gummicube, I recommend checking them out. And if you are looking to go into this level of optimization, which anyone doing an app should, check them out. I kind of went through questions as we went through. There was several of my own. So unless anyone has other questions, we can kind of wrap, but this has been so informative to myself today, and I'm sure many others. We will continue to, with our own publishers, with apps or without, to push this resource out and send. Certainly, if you're looking to connect with these guys, you can look them up online or contact us. But we're thrilled to kick off this partnership with this presentation today. I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, we're
Thank
super
you so much
excited.
for having us.
All right, well, we will, I'm going to cut this then, follow-up questions, and talk to you all later. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.